DA Fani Willis never stood a chance against Trump, and she may have already known that herself, as new evidence shows. Willis told Nathan Wade's lawyer, Terrence Bradley, to stay quiet about their affair. In her words, she said, "They're coming after us." Us being her and Wade. This is why former President Donald Trump called Willis's testimony so badly tainted that there is no case here, and that by going after Trump, she's able to get her boyfriend more money than they ever dreamed possible. And then it ended by calling Willis disgraced. Hence, many believe that Fani Willis and her tainted team should be removed from the Trump case in Georgia. So according to them, Willis has engaged in dishonest behavior, not unlike what she's accused the defendants of in this particular case. My, is this the pot calling the kettle black? But let's go ahead and take a close look at everything that's been presented and how this possibly constructs the perfect case for disqualification against Georgia Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. And also, what would happen next if she's removed? Something that could be possible in less than 2 weeks, considering the timeline that Judge McAfee gave. So sit tight, get comfortable, we're diving right in. So here's Judge McAfee himself confirming that money changed hands between the two prosecutors. Check this out.
The former president denies all wrongdoing, but setting a date for the trial of that case now on hold until Judge Scott McAfee decides whether Willis, who brought the case against Trump, can stay on the case, whether she benefited financially from hiring prosecutor Nathan Wade and then traveling with him, dating him.
It's no longer just the theory that money changed hands, is no longer speculation or conjecture.
Willis on the stand passionately defending herself last month.
You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020.
Now, Judge McAfee said he would have a ruling in the next 2 weeks. If he removes Willis, an independent state body would be tasked with finding a new prosecutor who would then themselves decide about whether continuing this case. So the real question then becomes, how long will all of that take?
You heard it yourself, guys. It looks as if McAfee is already leaning toward a decision and just kind of looking for a way to let DA Fani Willis and prosecutor Nathan Wade down easy. You know what I mean? And honestly, I'm really not surprised, because the way that this new evidence just keeps coming in against the two, it seems like it's just a matter of time, really. I mean, just recently, a new witness came out and said that they're willing to testify that Fani Willis warned lover Nathan Wade's former business partner to stay quiet about their affair. Trump co-defendant David Schaefer filed court papers alleging that Cobb County, Georgia prosecutor Cindy Lee Yeager overheard Willis warning Terrence Bradley that they were coming after Willis and Wade, and that Bradley doesn't need to talk to them about the couple. Now, at a hearing over whether to disqualify Fani Willis, Bradley claimed on the stand that he had no knowledge of when the two prosecutors started dating. But this recent filing says Yeager would swear under oath that was at odds with what he told Yeager in person, that the romance began in 2019 during Willis's DA campaign. Bradley also texted a lawyer for another Trump co-defendant. The pair were absolutely dating before Willis hired Wade to manage the Trump prosecution in November 2021, and then muttered, "Oh dang," when confronted with that evidence on stand. Yeager is willing to testify. Bradley told her Wade had definitely begun a romantic relationship with Miss Willis during the time that Miss Willis was running for district attorney in 2019 through 2020. See, after watching Bradley's testimony, Yeager became concerned as a result of the fact that what Mr. Bradley testified to on the witness stand was directly contrary to what Mr. Bradley had told Miss Yeager in person. Willis testified that she began dating Wade in 2022 after she hired him. The timeline is important because if it can be proven that Willis lied on the stand, it would likely result in her being booted from the case. Honestly, this is just giving more fuel to what Trump supporters have been saying, that Fani Willis and her tainted team should be removed from the Trump case in Georgia, especially considering how Willis is engaged in dishonest behavior, not unlike what she's accusing the defendants of in this case. You know what I mean, guys? I know a lot of people, they're saying that anything less than disbarment and jail time for Fani and crew is unacceptable, period. For them, everyone in Fani Willis's office is dirty, especially when you consider how they knew but didn't stop Nathan Wade from giving obviously perjured testimony. You could even say that he's worried that if he disqualifies her, every case that she's ever brought would be opened back up. It is a pretty valid concern since it will happen, but that is entirely inconsequential. If the entire office is dirty, then they need to be brought to justice. They need to be disbarred, and criminal prosecution should be pursued against them. But what do you guys think? Should Fani Willis, Nathan Wade, and their entire office be criminally prosecuted for this? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments down below. And while you're at it, show your support to the channel by lighting up the like button and subscribing. All right, so let's really get into this and let's talk about why Fani Willis and her so-called tainted team should be removed from the Trump case in Georgia. The various defendants who have filed for the indictment to be dismissed based on a conflict of interest allege two primary grounds. So the first one, that Willis engaged in forensic misconduct, which means through her countless media appearances and recent church appearances where she has talked about the specific disqualification effort, she has effectively denied the defendants a fair trial. Now, on this point, lawyers pointed out that Willis very arrogantly marched into a pulpit at a black church in Atlanta, filled with potential jurors, and said God was on her side, that the lawyers attacking her were racists. And by telling them that she had a 95% conviction rate, thus implying that the defendants were most likely guilty. She's not allowed to do that. Under the Georgia rules of professional conduct, she violated Rule 3.8, specifically aimed at prosecutors. The prosecutor in a criminal case shall refrain from making extrajudicial comments that have a substantial likelihood of heightening public condemnation of the accused. The maximum penalty for violating this rule is disbarment. She storms into a church with possible jurors, and she's not holding back. She's lashing out at the defendants and their lawyers, accusing them of attacking her for nepotism, her self-dealing, and her apparent dishonesty to the court. And on top of it, she's throwing around accusations of racism. That is a clear breach of Rule 3.8. If she could get disbarred for that behavior, then she definitely shouldn't be handling this case. There's a good reason why this rule exists. Prosecutors are meant to ensure that the whole legal process is fair. After all, fairness is what due process is all about, and if we lose that, the whole system falls apart. The other main ground that defendants rely on to remove Willis are based on an alleged conflict of interest for having a personal financial stake in the existence and the continuation of the case. The evidence paints a very clear picture. Willis cooked up a scheme where she handed out a sweet, no-bid contract worth $250 per hour to her undercover sweetheart, Nathan Wade, who didn't have any experience prosecuting felony cases whatsoever. Then, to top it off, she found a very sneaky way for those tax dollars to circle back to her by having Wade foot the bill for her fancy travel expenses. Ashley Merchant presented documentary evidence showing Nathan Wade had romanced Fani Willis by taking her on romantic trips, including Caribbean cruises and Napa Valley, just to name a couple. In all, the evidence that Ashley Merchant was able to get her hands on totaled about $17,000. So let's go ahead and dive into the disqualification hearing where things start to get seriously surreal. So both Willis and Wade confessed under oath to having this affair, but the kicker is that they swear up and down that things didn't start until 2022, after Wade's appointment as a special prosecutor. Then they talk about how Willis was supposed to pay or repay Wade in untraceable, unverified cash for the costs of her travel. Critics are definitely calling that a load of baloney. If proven untrue, that would mean that Willis and Wade straight up lied to the court about when their romantic affair began. Plus, even if you buy into their cash reimbursement story, according to the testimony, she still owes Wade nearly $10,000. Whether or not you buy into her version of events, one thing is crystal clear. Fani Willis made money off of this scheme, and that is a legal conflict of interest that requires her removal from the case. Perpetuating a fraud on this case is another basis for disqualification of Nathan Wade and Fani Willis. Notwithstanding that perjury in Georgia is a felony crime, the Georgia rules of professional conduct under Rule 3.3, candor toward the tribunal, are very clear on this issue. A lawyer shall not knowingly make a false statement of material fact or law to a tribunal, offer evidence that the lawyer knows to be false. This is also a disbarment offense. First, there's the sworn testimony of Robert Yearty, a former friend and employee of Willis. So Yearty testified that the romantic affair began as early as 2019, before Fani Willis became DA. She testified that she saw them with her own eyes hugging and kissing and acting like a couple. Second, text messages between one of the lawyers, Ashley Merchant, and Bradley, a former law partner, friend, and divorce attorney for Wade. In a text conversation with Ashley Merchant, Bradley is asked if he thought that the affair began before Willis hired Wade as a special prosecutor. Bradley responded, absolutely. Then, without being prompted, Bradley added, it started when she left the DA's office to prepare to run for DA and was a judge in the city of South Fulton. Third, counsel for former President Trump provided cell location data evidence that circumstantially yet powerfully proves Wade visited Willis at the condominium she was staying in provided to her by Yurty in the overnight hours on at least 2 separate occasions in the fall of 2021 prior to the claimed start of the affair in 2022. Let's lay it out plain and simple. If Willis lied and perpetuated a fraud on the court, she should be removed from the case. And if the judge believes that she has lied about the timing of the affair, it's fair game to question everything else she said, including the cash reimbursements. And where does that leave us? Right where we started. Fani Willis personally enriched herself by handing a lucrative contract to her lover to be special prosecutor and then got kickbacks from him in the form of frequent luxury travel. Now, don't be mistaken, this is a pretty serious deal to disqualify a prosecutor from a case, so you've really got to have a laundry list of scandalous facts in order to show that you have more than enough reason to show Willis the door. And let's not forget, if she's out, the whole office goes with her. We can also talk about dismissing the indictment against Trump altogether. Due to the actions of Willis, one can argue that the dismissal is required. As said by legal experts, the indictment is structurally unsound due to prosecutorial misconduct. Translation: the whole indictment is a mess, plain and simple, thanks to what Willis has been doing. Now, as I said, the case is damaged beyond repair. So is the Fulton County District Attorney's office. Former President Donald Trump says that the charges against him in Fulton County, Georgia have to be dropped, especially considering the case is a scam. He said that the whole thing is just so badly tainted. There's no case here. By going after Trump, she's able to get her boyfriend more money than they ever dreamed possible. And based on what I've been reading, the call of the people is that Fani Willis needs to resign her office and allow a new person to restore honor and integrity to the largest prosecutor's office in Georgia. If Wade, Fani, and her team aren't kicked off the case, I wouldn't be surprised if the citizens of Fulton County voted Fani out in 2024. But what do you guys think? Does Fani Willis deserve to be disqualified in light of all of this evidence against her and Wade? Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below, and hey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap that notification bell for more hard-hitting political analysis like this. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.